Welcome back everyone. So our next session for today is on green energy and energy efficiency mission. The important stakeholder departments under this mission are Department of Energy and Additional Energy Source, Infrastructure and Industry Development, UP NEDA, and Invest UP. On the 21st of January 2021, DOE organized a consultation with above stated departments, followed by one-on-one interactions with each of these departments from 28th June to 2nd July 2021. Post that, virtual consultations were convened between August and October 2021 to finalize the strategies, and thereafter brainstorming sessions with experts and nodal departments were conducted on 15th of December 2021. So proceeding further, now I would request Ms. Shreya Mohanty to present an overview of strategies of both the missions. Thank you.
Good afternoon everyone, thank you so much. So I'll be making the presentation on green energy and energy efficiency mission. So I realized that there's been a significant delay in the plan and the schedule for the day. So I'll be quick in some of these initial slides and हम strategies पे ज़्यादा focus करेंगे. I would just like to begin by saying that we're very grateful and thankful to UP NEDA for giving so much time and inputs to us in building this strategy. For giving us so much inputs and time in building this strategy, and we've tried to incorporate comments wherever we've left out. So in this finalization exercise, we look forward to your inputs. So this just presents the Uttar Pradesh energy scenario. The total installed capacity in Uttar Pradesh as of this is December 2021, but now we can update it, of course, is 45,624 megawatts. Share of generation by source of fuel is also being calculated from the CEA reports and data source. In 2020, total electricity supply and peak supply were 24% and 21% less than the demand. The state has the largest transmission and distribution network in the country. The average AT&C loss from all the discoms in the state in 2019-20 stood at 29%, which is targeted to be reduced by 15% by 2024. In 2019-20, there were 2 crore 86 lakh consumers covering all the categories in the state. Out of the 17 categories of consumers in the state, domestic sector consumes 51.94% of the total electricity supply. As of March 2019, UP had 10,55,000 solar lamps, over 16,000 solar street lights, and over 8,000 solar pumps have been installed. Of course, under the PM Kusum Yojana, these may have significantly increased over the last 2 years. So I'll skip these slides because these were also presented in the previous session, and these have been presented in the past as well to UP NEDA. So I'll move forward from the climate trends part of it. And I will come to the slide on vulnerability assessment. So as just to do a recap.
Go back to
yes,
that temperature rise.
Yes, sir.
This you explain because listen, as equivalent as planting trees.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So if you have 3 kilowatt solar rooftop, that is like planting 3,500 trees.
Right.
And if the family is of 5, then I was telling Bhavani that per capita you have to plant 300 trees. So you can declare your whole home carbon neutral home and carbon neutral person if you just have 3 kilowatts of. So that's why, because temperature rise over here from 8 to 4.5. And there is something called a runaway greenhouse effect, which is around 6 to 6 and above. So we are in a very dangerous zone, though it is 2070, and that's why our Prime Minister is also emphasizing net zero should be there. So just to bring to your perspective how dangerous the climate change is going to be.
So, temperature projections for the state as observed have shown a significant rise in maximum and minimum temperature over the last 40 years. We are observing a declining trend of rainfall. This particular slide actually shows the future projections, as Sir said, till end century for Uttar Pradesh. So we are looking at in an uncontrolled scenario where there were practically negligible mitigation actions taking place. We could have a temperature rise as high as 4.5 degrees Celsius over the baseline period, which is 1981 to 2010. In maximum temperature, and in minimum temperature it could increase by 5.2%. Rainfall, on the same hand, in an uncontrolled situation shows a declining trend, continues to show a declining trend till about 2070, and then increases in the end of the century. In a controlled scenario, which is RCP 4.5, we are still looking at a temperature rise in maximum temperature of about 2.1 degrees and minimum temperature of rising by 2.5 degrees. So we are already crossing, so we are in the range of 2 degrees, or over 2 degrees to 5 degrees temperature rise, and rainfall similarly shows a very sharp decline in the short term and then shows an increasing trend after that in the controlled scenario where there are mitigation actions that have been taken, that are taking place globally. So these projections, as Sir mentioned, are very, very important for Uttar Pradesh in terms of overall planning on climate action. And as Sir said, the runaway point becomes very important because any adaptation measures beyond that would not lead to benefits. So this is the spatial distribution of climate change projections that we see. The previous slide was an overall for the state and average, but spatially, of course, there's going to be a huge difference. Some districts will experience much more warmer temperatures compared to the others in the different scenarios that have been shown. And similarly, rainfall pattern also will be distributed across the state, where some districts will have a higher intensity and frequency of rainfall. This is showing monsoon season precipitation, which is very critical. Will have a higher compared to other districts. So this is the spatial spread across the scenarios going till end century as well. So coming to the vulnerability assessment, we have done this vulnerability assessment based on the IPCC framework and definition for vulnerability, which was published as of 2014, the assessment report 5. And these are largely socio-economic indicators that we have taken. It's an indicator-based assessment. So for the energy sector, the two critical indicators that we took was the access to clean cooking fuels, which was LPG, electricity and biogas, and access to electricity as the second indicator. Based on this, the vulnerability index or the spatial spread that we see across UP is shown in this map. We have divided the vulnerability across 5 classes, going from very low vulnerability to low, moderate, high and very high vulnerability. So the brown and the red are the high and very high vulnerability. So as we can see, practically a large part of the state is covered under very high and high vulnerability when it comes to energy, based on those indicators that I just mentioned. And this is just the drivers for vulnerability, but considering that we've taken those two are the key sort of parameters that are contributing to this vulnerability. So in the energy section, of course, the sector is very, very important from a mitigation perspective. As we all know, India has made ambitious climate targets. Recently at COP26 also, our Honorable Prime Minister increased our targets for renewable energy and in terms of non-fossil fuel based energy contribution to the installed capacity mix. We've also taken on a net zero target for 2070. So energy sector will play a very key role in ensuring that India is able to meet that. So some of the key GHG emission sources and climate risks that we observe in the sector are that rising temperatures and heat stress causing growth in cooling demand. There will be lower water availability for cooling in thermal and nuclear power plants, as we've seen in the temperature, with the temperature rise and the rainfall pattern shifts. The loss and damages to power distribution networks due to extreme events could be there because of high intensity and frequency of flooding events and so on. Emissions due to fossil fuel-based energy generation for electricity, cooking, heating and cooling would take place in a BAU scenario. Inefficient energy systems for industrial production, appliances, transmission and distribution, agriculture and municipalities could further contribute to emissions. So the various measures in terms of energy efficiency and renewable energy, of course, will lead to addressing these emission sources and reducing UP's greenhouse gas emission contribution. So in terms of the actions and the distribution in terms of the nature, this is the spread that we have right now with the draft plan for the mission. There are a total of 54 actions that have been listed. A large part of those actions are mitigation oriented, as I said, because energy is a very important sector for mitigation, which is 87%. 4% is adaptation oriented actions, and then there is 9% which is leading to both adaptation as well as mitigation benefits. In terms of the nature of actions, we are seeing about 59% of the actions being more implementation oriented, 9% being research oriented, 26% being policy oriented, either in terms of new policy or policy amendments or guidelines coming out and so on, and 6% being on capacity building in the missions.
So here we see
Implementation is very large. It's not very important because number of actions is 32. Is
Yes.
the greatest, I think.
Now, so the first strategy is on minimizing AT&C losses in transmission and distribution of electricity. So under this, the actions that we have is separation of agriculture feeders. The target for this is to have all mixed feeders in the state. Target for 2021-25 is 1,092 mixed feeders, 484 in PBVNL and 608 in DVVNL. Target for the next subsequent 5 years is to cover the rest of the mixed feeders. The estimated budget for this has been 2761. Probable funding source could be PM Kusum. The nodal agency over here, we wanted to confirm this, but what we found in the budget sheet was a line item for Agriculture Department, but we wanted to confirm this is falls within UP NEDA, so we could change the nodal agency to UP NEDA.
मैडम ये जो पीएम कुसुम स्कीम
जी
है
सर।
ये बेसिकली जो सेग्रीगेटेड ऑलरेडी सेग्रीगेटेड एग्रीकल्चर्स हैं उनके सोलराइजेशन के लिए फंडिंग प्रोवाइड करता है, परंतु परसेंटेज वाइज मेरे पास डाटा है सर, वो मैं आपके साथ शेयर कर सकता हूँ, परंतु अंदाजन लगभग 2000 एग्रीकल्चर फीडर्स ऑलरेडी सेग्रीगेटेड हैं। इसका मतलब ये है कि उन फीडर्स से जो 11,000 की लाइन जा रही है 33/11 सब स्टेशन से आउटगोइंग लाइन, उससे केवल एग्रीकल्चर पंप्स कनेक्टेड हैं। ऐसे 2000 समथिंग एग्रीकल्चर फीडर्स ऑलरेडी सेग्रीगेटेड हैं, जिनके लिए पीएम कुसुम स्कीम ये कहती है कि अब इन सेग्रीगेटेड फीडर्स की जो एनर्जी रिक्वायरमेंट है वो पूरी की पूरी वही फीडर की विसिनिटी में एक सोलर पावर प्लांट इंस्टॉल करके अप्रोप्रिएट कैपेसिटी और उससे फीड की जाए। ये पीएम कुसुम की स्कीम।
कोई रोड मैप है कि कब तक?
रोड मैप बिटवीन डिस्कशन है फंडिंग एजेंसी एंड यूपीपीसी। फंडिंग एजेंसी सर इस केस में 2-3 है जो कि बजट उपलब्ध कराएगी यूपीपीसी, तो यूपीपीसी अपने बिजनेस प्लान में उसको इनकॉर्पोरेट करके और फिर इसमें सर पावर फाइनेंस कॉर्पोरेशन, मेजर फंड उपलब्ध कराती है, और रूरल इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन कमीशन कॉर्पोरेशन, ये 2 बेसिक पावर सेक्टर की फंडिंग एजेंसी है। इसके अलावा भी कुछ इंटरनेशनल फंडिंग है, वो हम मैडम के साथ शेयर करेंगे। तो जहाँ तक सेग्रीगेशन ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर फीडर्स, सेपरेशन के बजाय इसमें शब्द इस्तेमाल होता है सेग्रीगेशन। ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर फीडर्स के लिए नोडल एजेंसी बनाए जाने का प्रश्न है, तो ये
एनर्जी डिपार्टमेंट होगा
एनर्जी
और इम्प्लीमेंटिंग भी एनर्जी ही होगा, मेरा तो करता नहीं है इसको। हाँ।
Yes, we make this change.
इम्प्लीमेंटिंग में आप डिस्काउंट्स लिख सकते हैं इम्प्लीमेंटिंग। हाँ
मतलब ये जो आपने 200 बोले ना, अभी 200 फीडर की बात की,
2000
की बात की, ये क्या सारे डिस्काउंट्स के डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड हैं?
हाँ।
हालांकि जो प्रिसाइज फिगर है वो मैं आपके साथ शेयर
हाँ, इसमें ये फिगर आ जाए कि कितने एग्रीकल्चरल फीडर्स हैं और उसके सापेक्ष आपने 2000 किया है, और 2000 जो किया है उसमें सोलराइजेशन का आप क्या कर रहे हैं, वो कब तक पूरा, ये
वाले फिगर्स हमको टैरिफ डॉक्यूमेंट
2.7 crores number of domestic consumers, 5 smart metering of that is for domestic consumer, then smart metering of about 60 lakhs consumers will be completed by March 2022 in Amrut cities. So target जो हमारा है कि 2021-25 में to cover all the remaining domestic connections जो हैं in a 5-year plan. So ये 2021-25 है, but this is the target is going to be for the first 5 years. So the remaining domestic connections are covered in that 5-year period. The estimated budget that we have for here is 1,306 crores. Probable funding source EESL हो सकता है, nodal agency power department, implementing agency DISCOMs.
ये दोनों ही स्कीम्स रेस्को मॉडल को लागू की जाती है। जैसे आपको स्मार्ट मीटर खरीदने नहीं होंगे, आप EESL को सिर्फ एक एग्रीमेंट के साथ साइन करेंगे, वो अपने खर्चे बैक एंड पे वो कहीं से फाइनेंसिंग अरेंज करेंगे, वो मीटर्स आपके जो नॉर्मल मीटर्स हैं उनकी जगह स्मार्ट मीटर्स इंस्टॉल करेंगे, और उसके बाद आपको अपने बिलिंग एफिशिएंसी और कलेक्शन एफिशिएंसी के कारण जो रेवेन्यू आपका एक्स्ट्रा अर्न करेंगे उससे आप उनको
इसमें आप वो डालिए रेस्को मोड, फाइनेंस से EESL जहाँ डाल रहे हैं ना वहाँ पर थ्रू रेस्को मोड,
और सिमिलर पैनल लगाएगा, लैंड अपनी सेलेक्ट करेगा, फिर गवर्नमेंट को बिजली देगा, गवर्नमेंट को उसको पे करना होता है, टैरिफ पे करना।
And also you should say that by adopting this, how much carbon offsetting is being done. Because this department is co-equal, in fact more important than forest department for climate change. Okay? So here you have to see how much carbon sequestration, how much emission reduction they are doing.
Again, we have said that all state tube wells in the first 1.3, that सारे state tube wells cover होंगे इसके अंदर, and the coverage will be in the first 5 years of 17,970, and in the next 5 years the rest 17,000 consumers to be covered. The budget for this is 2.12. There is the revamped distribution sector scheme that is there. There are also certain tube well schemes that we've put, but the nodal agency for this could be power department. Implementing agencies could be DISCOMs. Potentially, if these other schemes are also looked at the tube well, then maybe Namami could also play a role because they're the key agencies for the tube well schemes that are running in the state. The smart metering for public water works, we are proposing that in the first 5 years, 13,897 consumers would be covered, and in the next 5 years, 10,000 consumers would be covered. Estimated budget is 1.45 crores. The probable funding source is revamped distribution sector scheme. Nodal agencies, power department, and implementing agencies could be DISCOMs.
इसमें रेस्को मोड में
वाटर वर्क्स को में एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी को लागू करने के लिए रेस्को मोड पे काम किया। तो पर अपने स्टेट में इस प्रकार का प्रपोजल फिलहाल अंडर कंसिडरेशन नहीं, पर हो सकता है।
हाँ, क्योंकि हम ऑल्टरनेटिव देंगे ना यहाँ पर कि
तो
कहाँ
इसमें
से फंड आ
लिखेंगे
सकते
कि
हैं।
ओन फाइनेंस और रेस्को।
तो